What is good, YouTube? It's your boy OG Nonboy back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be going over a team that I came up with, which is kind of a twist on an old classic. So this team is a variation of the Scaffold team, which consists of Medicham, Lickitung, and Charm, ALOLAN, Ninetales in the back. But I decided to run this team because I was seeing a lot of steel types in the front, and the two changes that I made here are the Sableye instead of the Lickitung, and the reasoning for that is, for one, I don't have a Lickitung, and then for two, since the Charm nerfs happened, the Sableye is probably a lot stronger of a safe swap as there are less hard checks to it on opposing teams. And for the ALOLAN Ninetales in the back, we're going to be running the Powder Snow instead of Charm. So the reasoning for this obviously is because there are a lot of new flying types that are emerging in this meta now, or not necessarily new, but the frequency with which flying types are on opposing teams is a lot higher, especially the Noctowl, Pelipper, and other wing attack users. So Powder Snow will allow you to hard counter those picks on the swap. So without further ado, let's see if this team is actually able to hard counter the meta like I want it to. So first match, we have a Medicham into Walrein, and this isn't a pick you see too much anymore, but this definitely works out for our Medicham. And I'm assuming this opponent was trying to hunt for flying types in the lead, but this is a pretty comfortable matchup for us, as we will just be able to go for the Psychic here and take them out. So I threw on 9 counters, so right before they got to their next Icicle Spear, and then they swap into their Trevenant, and this is a pretty comfortable matchup for us just because even if they swap out of here, we have a hard answer to this in our ALOLAN Ninetales, since it does again know the Powder Snow, and we should be able to get to the Weather Balls very quickly. So they have a Swampert in the back, so this is still pretty comfortable as we will be able to tank a Hydro Cannon just fine before going down, and we will be able to build up to a return and either threaten the shield or take the Swampert just about out. But we end up going for the foul play just because I think at this point in time I thought I would be able to get to 2 before they farm me down, but I just slightly miscalculated, and they end up taking us out, and we bring our Medicham in here. So I'm going to shield this, but they're likely just going to throw their next Hydro Cannon anyways right away, so we don't get to our Ice Punch. But this is alright for us. We still have our full health ALOLAN Ninetales in the back, and making a little bit of a misplay here by going for the Weather Ball on CMP, which we do lose, but it doesn't really matter too much in the end, since our next Weather Ball will be gotten at 4 Powder Snows, and we should be able to outpace this Trevenant here. So pretty solid matchup overall, as we were able to win the lead and preserve our Medicham. So next match here, we have the Medicham into Stunfisk. So this is exactly what we're kind of hunting down in the lead, and they bring in a Medicham, so RPSing them so far in this matchup. And how I like to play this matchup, just for most optimal I guess energy coming out of this matchup and being low health, is I'll tank the first Ice Punch, and then I'll throw my foul play on the CMP tie for the next Ice Punch. So if they let this through, I can let their Ice Punch through and then farm down, but if they shield, then I'm going to shield and then do the same thing, keep some energy and keep throwing on the CMP tie of their next Ice Punch. So now we have a loaded foul play, and we are very low health, so the Galarian Stunfisk will not be able to farm us down too much. So now we're going to bring our Medicham back in, and they have a Noctowl in the back, so this is pretty much a GG's, and exactly kind of why I built this team, just because I was seeing a lot of steel type leads with flying types in the back. So also, the Galarian Stunfisk in the lead plus a grass type in the back is also a very common core, like the Galarian Stunfisk and Venusaur core. And I mean, at least last season, the double flying, or not double flying, the double grass teams behind the Galarian Stunfisk were also very popular as well. So yeah, at this point, this game is basically over. Opponents still staying in, fighting the good fight, but I mean, there's not much they can do at this point. Even if they load up on energy here, the Powder Snow ALOLAN Ninetales actually does quite well against the Stunfisk if it doesn't throw its energy. As you can see here, these Weather Balls doing neutral damage actually chunk the G-Fisk here quite a bit, so after they take us out here, 1 counter or 2 should be able to take them out, and we'll secure the match. So GG's to my opponent. Next match, we have our Medicham into Dedenne, so this is kind of a tricky lead just because it beats both our Medicham and our Sableye if we don't invest shields. And I mean, even if we do invest shields, it is pretty sticky, especially if they bait us. But I'm going to shield up the first move, anticipating that this is the play rough. And let's see if I'm correct. So it ends up being the play rough, thankfully. And we get to the next Ice Punch, so they're likely going to shield just because this would just about take them out. And now I'm feeling a little uncomfortable staying in here. Since I don't want to use my second shield, I'm going to bring my ALOLAN NINETAILS in here, and they throw a play rough. So, I mean, even though the ALOLAN NINETAILS was more or less our hard answer to the Dedenne, my thinking at the time was, if I swap in my ALOLAN NINETAILS and they bring in a Steel type, then my Medicham should be able to get a pretty nasty farm on the Steel type that takes out my ALOLAN NINETAILS, and I should have residual energy ready to throw at the Dedenne or whatever comes in next. So that's kind of why I decided to play that out that way, but our opponent kind of makes a mistake here by bringing in the Golbat. Maybe they weren't paying attention to our fast move, but this ends up working out really well for us since, as you can see here, there was a Lantern in the back. So if they decided to bring the Lantern in instead of the Golbat there, it would have been a lot harder for us to win this game, and we might have even lost it. But at this point, we're pretty comfortable. We should just be able to take out this Dedenne with our Ice Punch, and we still have our Sableye and our Medicham here to take care of this Lantern. So it doesn't really matter too much how I decide to play this out. I do no shield that, and it ends up being a Surf. This is probably another Surf, and then I should just be able to either counter them down, or I'm going to throw this Psychic here just to be safe, since I did lose track of their energy, but they just threw back to back, so there was no way that they would be getting to another move. So next match here, we have our Medicham into Stunfisk, so another Stunfisk lead. And they swap into a Pelipper this time, so this is a little bit tricky just because our Ninetales doesn't do super effective damage to the Pelipper, so I'm going to chip it first and then bring in my Ninetales. So it's going to be a little bit troublesome if they do land the Hurricane, which they do, but now we should be able to get to our Weather Balls before they do. So we will be maintaining Switch in this scenario, as long as we shield. Well, actually we might not maintain Switch here, because if they decide to double shield and farm us down, I'm pretty sure they're actually going to be able to do that. So let's see what the opponent decides to do. They actually double shield here, and they get a nasty farm down on us, so they have a Weather Ball stored. And I'm going to soak it up on my Medicham here, so let's see, they bring in a Venusaur, so at this point, as long as they don't catch the Psychic on their Stunfisk in the front, we are in a pretty comfortable position. So this is the core I was talking about, basically. And this, I actually also featured this exact team on my channel, so if you want to check out that team, it's going to be somewhere on my channel, so look out for that. Next match, we have the Drapion lead, and then they swap in a Noctowl, so able to hard counter them with our Ninetales here. And they get to the moves pretty quickly as well, so I do try to leave this matchup with some extra energy here, but I end up miscounting a little bit, and I'm going to have to shield and farm them all the way down, since I did get a little bit greedy there. But it doesn't really matter too much, just because we are going to be able to threaten the Drapion if it comes back in with neutral damage from either our Weather Balls or the Dazzling Gleam, with the Dazzling Gleam doing a lot of damage if it lands. So I'm going to go straight for the Dazzling Gleam, but I kind of regretted it after they shielded it. But I mean, you never really know what they're going to do. So I'm going to get this Weather Ball off, and then it doesn't really matter too much since we are still in a pretty comfortable position with our Medicham. And then they have a Trevenant in the back, so they did get one Shadow Claw head start, so they're gonna outpace us if they bait us with a Seed Bomb there. But thankfully, we shield up the Shadow Ball correctly, so this should just be a Seed Bomb, and then we're gonna farm them all the way down. And then we have a return and some extra energy ready for the Drapion. And since we are so ahead on energy, I'm not anticipating them no shielding this, but even if they did, I mean, they threw 2, so that's pretty good for us as well. And now this should be a pretty comfortable position for us to be in. So it doesn't really matter what move this ends up being, we should be able to tank anything, and then our Ice Punch plus some counters maybe, if this isn't KO, should be more than enough, and we will take this match here. So overall, going 5-4 in this set, a lot of positive leads, but I mean, that's kind of like what you want when you build a team, right? Like, you want to build a team that is good against what you're seeing currently, and this wasn't just for this set. I've gone positive in the 10 to 15 sets. I've played like somewhere more than 10, but less than 15 with this team, and I've gone positive every time, minus 1 time, which was only a 2-3. So definitely a very solid team, and give it a try if you do have these Pokemon. So that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and also submit your battles in the link in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.